Sorry, it happens. So yeah, so now I hope so. Yeah, this is again I'm going to do so that it can be recorded. Basic statistics, one sample t-test, and I'm going to use GPA. And by default, the 95% is here. So this is 8.5764 is 500 student average. The true population of all the students coming to USA is between 8.5 to 8.6 with 95% confidence. That means I'm 95% confident that those students are coming to USA. All 25,000 students average GPA would be between this range. That is called true population mean. So based on sample, I'm just giving about population. I'm just concluding about population with some chances of error. So here 5% chance of I can be wrong, but 95% I can be right. If I increase this range, let's say from 95 to 99, the range confidence interval will be bigger and my chances of mistakes will be less. So here you can clearly see I'm just going to make the changes. Basic statistics, one sample T, I'm going to make it 99. And you can see, so here you had 8.523, 8.629. Here you have 8.5 and 8.64. The range is bigger. I'm 99% confident, only 1% risk is here. So if you increase the confidence level, that means the range will be wider and you will have less chance of getting rejected. So this is the interpretation of. Similarly, suppose you are doing whatever uh, business you are in or job you are in. Suppose you want to know about the what is the entire population, and you are not able to get the all the data. What you can do, you go and get the sample, and based on the sample, you can go with the precision 95, 92, 93, whatever level of confidence you want to go, and you can estimate based on this. So this is the simple interpretation of confidence interval. Now I am going over the theoretical part if this is clear to everyone. When do we use all these things? One more thing, here we go under basic statistics. Here you can also summarize the data with sample size, mean, standard deviation, and you can put the confidence interval here and you can do that. But so, and similarly, you can do one Z test. This is, or this can be done only when you do know the standard deviation of all the population. Means when you know only standard deviation of population, then only you use Z test. You can also use the same thing, sample size, sample mean, but you have to have a standard deviation for population, then only you can Z test. Similarly, you can go for basic statistics. You can go for one proportion if you have the proportion. Proportion can be summarized here. Proportion can be taken from this. For example, here one column is research university, one is research university, 0 is non-research university. So I would like to know what about the entire thing. So I'm just going to get this automatically 95%, and let's do it. So based on these 500 numbers, 280 events are there, which is sample proportion is 56%. What would be the true 25,000 students proportion? What would be the research proportion? So they will range from 51% to 60% in research university. So all students, true proportion of all 25,000 students with 95% confidence would be between 51 to 60%. So this is proportion. Now, similarly, I go under statistics, basic statistics, and here we go for variance, one variance. One variance, so you can understand mean, standard deviation, or standard deviation or variance. Here you can go for sample if standard deviation is given, if variance is given, or you can get from the column, and you can, for example, there would be a variance of GRE score, and option again the same. Look into the standard deviation is 11.3, variance, but so you can know, the relationship with 90, these are the 95% confidence for mu is using chi-square is this much, for using this much. So this is the, so based on mean, standard deviation, proportion, we are going to do our inferential statistics from this chapter onwards. Is it making sense? So we are just going to use these four options under basic statistics. 1Z, when you have population standard deviation given. One sample, when you don't have the population standard deviation. One proportion, when you have proportion condition, and one variance. And so now I am going to start with slides. So I think I already explained about all these concepts. Here again, I'm going to, I hope you can see my slide part. Thank you. So here, what we do is normally we take the sample from population and we inference about, or we generalize about population based on sample. So this is the statistics now onwards. We are taking the sample, we are going to do this. Sample, mean, proportion, you have already gone through all these concepts. Most important thing, you just look into this. This is the most important slide here. If the sample is large enough, the sample means will have approximately normal distribution, and that we also learned in the last class or last module. So uniform distribution reaches to normal distribution, triangular distribution reaches to normal distribution, every distribution reaches to normal distribution if you have higher sample size, and that is central limit theorem. So I'm not going further here. Now I'm going to explain applying the central limit theorem from here. What is the expected range of sample means? Mu plus minus z sigma upon square root of n. This is basic formula that you can understand and that you can remember. So when you see this, mu is, again, if you remember the notation, mu is used for population standard, population mean. Sigma is used for population standard deviation. Square root of n is small n, means for sample. Z, you can clearly understand, this is z value. So for 90% interval, z value is 1.645 that we have seen last time. For 95, 1.96, for 99, 2.576. So z value for these levels, mu plus minus sigma upon n. Look into this concept here. So this is the formula. If you increase the value of n, the plus minus part will be smaller. N equal to 4, sigma square root of 4, which is sigma upon 2. If n equal to 16, this is the denominator is going to be higher and the overall value. So this part is known as standard error. So basically, if you look into any formula, this part is known as standard error because sigma, this is standard deviation, and this is n, means sample size. So this is called standard error, and the whole part is called margin of error. So this is called standard error or of the mean. Now look into this. When you look to the 90% confidence level, or whatever, this is means this is your acceptance region. This is your confidence level, or this is a confidence area. This is called, rest of the area is called significance level or rejection region. This is called significance level or rejection region. There's only one difference. If confidence level is 90%, significance level is 10%. If confidence level is 95%, significance level is 5%. So this is the only difference. What is the confidence interval for any mu? Mu is right here, which you can understand here. Plus minus. So plus side is this side. Here they have demonstrated x bar plus sigma alpha by 2 sigma z alpha by 2 sigma upon square root of n. And the same term is one time added, one time subtracted. So exactly this is the range. So whatever mu you have or mean you have, you will get one side subtracted from this part, this, and one time added with the mu. So you can see what I have just explained, that confidence 90 is smaller, 95 is bigger, 99 is more bigger. So if you have more or bigger the confidence level, you have higher the range. So now here is the confidence interval for a mean with known sigma. Means you know the sigma, and this is the case of z-test. When you know the sigma of the population, you use z-test. What is the interpretation of this? Out of 100 confidence intervals, approximately 95 may contain mu, while approximately 5% might not contain mu when constructed 95% confidence interval. So I'm going to show you through whiteboard what is the, so this is the problem that I started with. Now look into that. Let's say this is the population, and this is, let's say, a population mean, which is right here, whatever. Now I take one sample from population, let's say in Eastern Washington University, there are approximately 13,000 students last time I saw, but because of COVID, it would be like less than 10,000. 13,000 students registered in university, and based on university record, the average age of the student is like 24 years. Okay, this is 24. Now I go and I take random samples of 50 students, and that students that has let's say this is their mean with 90% ranges, like from here to here. Second time I go, I take and that sample ranges like here. This is mean of that, and this is this second. Similarly, I do the third round, third sample, and that third sample range is here to here. Fourth sample I take, fourth sample is also here to here. Fifth sample I take, that mean is here, and that range is here to here. Similarly, I take sixth sample, which is right, here, and that goes here to here. Seventh sample I take here, and that goes from here to here. Eighth sample I take, that is here, and that goes from here to here. Ninth I take, which is right here to here. So, and 10th I take, which is like here, and that goes here to here. So out of 10 samples, can you see this? Out of 10 sample, only one sample is not representing the true mean. Only this sample, which is not, this is mean, other samples are representing the true mean with confidence. So what I can say, I'm 90% confident that the sample, or that true population mean between this to this range. So I mean, this is the other way to understand the population confidence interval. What is the meaning of 90%? So I took 10 out of 10, 9 are representing the true population, 1 is not representing. So out of 100 confidence intervals, approximately 95 may contain mu. Exactly the same I have just explained on the whiteboard. 5% might not contain mu when constructing 95% confidence. So this is exactly the same concept which you can also understand. When we can assume the normality, if sigma is known and the population is normal, what is the condition? N is greater than or equal to 30. So this is the first thing. Now, when you don't know the sigma, population standard deviation is not known, then what you do? You use student t distribution. Student t test, student t distribution, whatever you can say, because at the point 30, the t and z, they are almost same. And s by small a square root of n, that is called estimated standard error for the mean. So this is a standard error for the mean from the and t again the same, t value instead of z value, the formula instead of mu, which is population mean, this is sample mean x bar, and rest is exactly the same. So this is, what is the degree of freedom? Degree of freedom is n minus 1 in t distribution, because if there are 30 sample size, the degree of freedom is 30 minus 1, which is 29. So z and t test, when n equal to 31, the degree of freedom would be 30, and they come very close to each other. You can see this. The z value at n equal to 30 is 1.645. Z value is 1.645, sorry. And for t, n equal to 30 is 1.6, which they are very close to each other. Therefore, after 30, everything becomes normal. And so GMAT score, for example, here, the degree of freedom is 19, X bar is this much. Construct a 90% confidence interval for the mean GMAT score of all MBA applicants. X bar is this. So I'm just going to open my Minitab. Can you see my Minitab? Yeah. No. Okay, let me do one more time. How about now?
Yes.
Okay. So construct the 90% confidence interval for mean GMAT score of all M. So I go under this, I undergo this. Now I have to check, do I have the standard deviation of the population? No, I don't have. So one sample t-test. Now here you can have, data from like detailed data, or you can have summarized data. So the question is asking the summarized data. The sample size is, how many samples are there? 20. What is the sample mean? Sample mean is 510 and standard deviation is 73.77. So this is all about sample, standard deviation, sample mean, sample size. Now I have to just change this to 90%. That's it. And you can see the with 90% confidence, this is the 4.81.5 to 538.5. This is mean, but with 90% confidence, the true population will be within this. So this is a confidence interval. And manually you can do also in when you look into the t table, you can clearly construct the. So I'm just going to demonstrate for you graph probability distribution, how you can see the t value. Now I go to, where's a t? This is a t distribution. Degree of freedom 19. Since there are 20 samples, so 20 minus 1 is 19. Now what you need to get? You need to get what probability? You need to get, which is 90%. So you just, P1 and P2. Okay. So this is 5% this side, 5% this side. The middle 90% is right here. So if you can see this, the value for this t table is 1.729. Can you see the slide part? So this is exactly for, so you can get the values using our Minitab also. Now let me go further. So what you need to do when you want to get more precision, you want to get the result with precision, you have to have a smaller confidence level. Means that you take simultaneously, if you want to measure something with more precision, you have to have higher risk on other side. So lower the confidence level is lower the range, means more precision. But other way, how you can do that also to measure with more precision, if you look into the formula, which I'm just going to show. Let's say this is a formula. Yes, this is the formula. If you can see, you want this, this is mu, this will remain same. You want to reduce the size of this entire uh, this term z sigma upon square root of n. What you can do, you can either increase the sample size n. That means if you increase this sample, the n value, the total term, this margin of error will be smaller, and then with mu you will subtract and add one time, the total range will be more precise or smaller. So this is the one thing. Second thing, what you can do, reduce the sigma, means reduce the standard deviation, means you have to have better, accurate sample information, or increase or reduce the z value. So these are the three ways in order to get more precise results: increase the n value, reduce the sigma, and reduce the z value. So this is the three terms which impacts a lot. So this is about that. So you can also use the confidence interval for mean with unknown using table. Now we are coming about proportion. In proportion, exactly the same formula, except one term has been changed, which is like this. So the proportion confidence interval is written like this. P means proportion plus minus z, exactly the same way, z alpha by 2, square root of P means proportion 1 minus proportion divided by n. So since pi is unknown, the confidence interval for P equal to x, y, n, we normally, so whatever, assuming a large sample, so like, I have just calculated from my data that there are 280 research university out of 500, which is 56%. And so P is 56%, 0.56 plus minus Z value, a square root of 0.56, 1 minus 0.56, N is 500. And we can get this confidence interval. And that, our Minitab does it quickly. So I'm just going to show you this. I hope you can see my Minitab part. Are the Z value different for proportion? No. Z value will be for 95%, everything will be same. For, you can see 1.645, 1.96 and 2.54 something. They are all there, and you can clearly see on slide also. I'm going to show you. So look into this. This is research, and I'm just going to do basic statistics, one proportion, and this is research, and 95, and I can just go here, and you can see this is 56%, and I can do the same thing in summarized format, basic statistics, one proportion, and I can go under summarized data. Number of events are 280 out of 500, and option again by default 95%, and you can see exactly the same numbers, 0.51244, 0.60, and you can see from the data, and you can see from the summarized data. So if you have either way in question, the homework and assignment problems are basically summarized form of the data. That means instead of that, they are giving this is the one, this is the one, and you keep going. So always refer, this is the sample directly you can fetch from Minitab table, or you can get from summarize that we have in questions. So this is the concept of proportion. Means what would be the true population proportion of entire population based on sample. That is what we are going to check. Now after this, you can see this same thing. So this is a sample of 75 retail store. So I'm just going to demonstrate the same example that you can clearly see here. A sample of 75 retail store purchase, so 25 were paid in cash. We construct 95% confidence interval for proportion of retail store purchase that are paid in cash. So 24 out of 75, which is 32%. And now, this is a manual calculation. I'm just going to do the, so here I just do 24. How many are there out of 75? Are we going to do 90% or 95%? So you can see clearly 21 to 43%. And you can see the answer is right here, 21 to 42 points something, exactly the same answer. So all this big hassle or big problems are done quickly by Minitab. Is it? Now we have extended form of this. There's a finite population, and this factor which is added at the end of all three formulas, all three equation, is called finite population correction factor. If you have population known, population size known, and sample size known, then this part is being introduced in all three formulas. And we don't have this option in our Minitab to calculate, and you have to have this manual things to do. Means if you have like 5 out of 5,000, you are taking a sample of 200, and out of 200 you are finding 150 is correct. In such case, you are going to use finite population correction factor with, so you can see x bar equal to z sigma square root of n. This is mu with unknown sigma, with known sigma, mu with unknown sigma, and for proportion. So this is the additional thing which has been introduced, or which has been introduced on all in basic equations. So these you can see clearly basic equations, but at the end, this finite population correction factor is added. Now, very important part is sample size determination for a mean. So look into this concept here. So this part is called z sigma upon square root of n. This is called error part. So in our calculation, for example, mu, this is mu plus minus z sigma upon square root. This is called error, so this after plus minus, this is called error term. So error equal to z sigma with square root divided by square root. This is error term. Now based on this, how we can do the, now in order to make n normal, we take the square of, so e square equal to z square sigma square upon n. Now we move this here, and we move e here, and we move n here. So what is the n value? N is moved there, e is moved here. So n equal to z square sigma square upon e square. And this is the, n is a sample size. And this is the most often asked in many interviews or many places. How much sample size should be enough for doing this study? And based on this, we can come to know. So again, n equal to z sigma upon e, and then whole square. So square is commonly taken. This is the sample size estimation for me. Is it making sense? So this is the formula that we are going to use. However, there's a, now first thing first, how we can if n we want to estimate, how we can check this e, how we can check the sigma. For that, some assumptions has to be, some assumptions we need to consider. For example, take a preliminary sample. Means normally before doing a good study, somebody, they always go and take a small pilot sample. Pilot sample means 40-50 people, and based on that they estimate the sigma. take a small sample, use the sample S in place of sigma in sample size formula. So this is first method. The second method is you can assume uniform population and rough upper and lower limits A and B and set sigma equal to this. Third method is assume normal population and you can see 6 sigma is the range. So you can, R upon sigma, R upon 6 equal to sigma. So you can do using this method. You can use Poisson arrivals in a special case when sigma is Poisson arrival rates, sigma equal to square root of lambda. So that whatever we studied in distributions, we are going to consider here also, whichever is the best. How you can estimate population proportion with precision of E plus minus E? So since pi is between 0 and 1, the E would be also between 0 and 1. Similarly, for sample size determination for proportion, I'm going to come over Minitab also. Exactly the same thing you can see here. P plus minus z square root of pi 1 minus pi divided by n. So P plus minus, so here error term is z square root of pi 1 minus pi divided by n. Similarly, if you have proportion known, you can get this formula. So sample size for this. How we can get in general, this is a conservative method that, you can always consider pi is 50%. Let's say you can think any research, let's say the students applying for research university and non-research university, you can assume 50% are applying for research and 50% are for non-research. This sample may end up being large necessary. So for this consideration, the sample may end up being large. Second method, take a preliminary sample like we did, take a small preliminary sample, use the sample P instead of pi in sample size formula. Third method is use historical data, and this is the method. So these are the three methods. Now here the chi-square distribution, and chi-square distribution is for variance, and this is variance. What is the formula? This is the variance. So variance plus minus this. So whatever is the variance plus n minus 1 s square divided by chi square, and then n minus 1 s square divided by chi square. So this is chi square thing. So I'm going to first show you the chi square. For example, here, let's see under graph. Can you see my Minitab? You can see my Minitab? Okay. Probability distribution here. View probability distribution. Instead of t distribution, I'm going to show you chi square. And degree of freedom is again n minus 1. So let me do for like 16 degree of freedom. Shaded area, we are just going to use by default this. So if you can see for degree of freedom 16, this is lower bound, this is upper bound 26, 7.96. I think I have answered one question in fill in the blanks that you can do. So this is chi square is used for variance. Now I'm going back to the here power and sample size. So this is under stat power and sample size. So here sample size estimation. And if you can see this, here you have multiple options. Mean, standard deviation, variance, proportion, rate, mean. In what form you have the question given? Let's say something is given standard deviation for, this is like 20, and the margin of error is, the E part is, let's say 2. Under option at 95%, what would be the, how many sample would be appropriate? So here sample size would be 234. However, when you are solving all the questions related to sample size, please use manual calculator or manual, calculation. The reason is that probably the algorithm used in this Minitab is not matching the answer with the book answer. So always use this formula that has been given. Either this formula, if you can see this, the proportion one, or use this formula, n equal to this, and just manually put the numbers here, and I think in 2 minutes you can get the answer. But I'm just demonstrating, because here you can again go under for power of sample size, and here you can go sample size estimation. Now instead of standard deviation is not given, mean is given, mean, normal, planning value. For example, here this standard deviation, let's say, and variance is given. For example, variance is, instead of standard deviation, is variance is given like 144, and you can get. So no Minitab, for which types of problem can you repeat? For sample size always use the sample size calculation. Again, basic statistics. So here variance, similarly proportion is like 56%, for example, and margin of error is like 0.044%, and with 95% default, the sample size should be 623. So here, if you have binomial thing, rate of Poisson, you have mean Poisson, you can, basically involve what format you have the question, or in the format you have the question given, you can use either of them, and you can use always here margin of error, and you can use estimate the sample size, or otherwise you can also estimate the margin of error. If sample size is 0.1601, mean, or the standard deviation is like 20, what would be the margin of error? So margin of error would be lower bound and upper bound. Here this would be the margin of error. So you can get the margin of error, you can get the sample size, but not for assignment. In real life you can use this. Here our answers are solved based on manual calculation. So all the problems related to sample size, it will not take more than 15 minutes to solve if you understand the concept. Because here there's a difference between this answer of this Minitab and the manual calculation. So this is the chapter about confidence interval and sample size determination. If you have any question, please let me know. Otherwise, I'm always available through. So yes, don't use the sample size. you can use all other calculation whenever there is a question to estimate or to determine the sample size. Don't use. Only for sample size. I feel like Minitab is what we have used this whole time. Only if I do this with entire thing, I can make the changes in the quiz or this. I can set another. I can set two answers of each question. One is based on Minitab. One is based on manual calculation. However, that will be so. This is not because all the questions are done based on manual calculation. The answers are done and they did not use Minitab, and there will be, when I checked, when I do, there's a difference, and I understand there's a algorithm difference between this software and manual calculation. Yeah, so this is only the a small thing, and I think 7 8 questions are there where we don't we have to use the manual calculation. Rest you can do automatically Minitab and you can get the answers. Any other question? And these sample size calculations are very small, very, very small. So if there's no question, I would like to say have a good night. Bye-bye. And this will be recorded and this will be placed on right at the bottom of the module. Yeah, so question number 3 is about, which was about, I removed the, I removed that part. So which is just, that was in 1,000 miles and that was in 500. So we were just going to do half of the thing, and that was just 70.98 divided by 2, which is 35.5, I believe, 35.5. That is what was the answer.
Okay, I understand. I got that answer, the 70.98, and I think that I just didn't understand how the question was written. And I understand you wanted the lower bound.
Yeah.
But what does it have to do with the total distance the guests were traveling?
So actually the question, if you see that in under bracket, under parenthesis, it was given 500, thousands of miles. And then it was just 500, so basically it was just constructed the question that, one has to divide the lower bound with 2 divided by 2, which is 35.5.
Okay, the lower bound,
Lower
divide
bound,
that by 2.
yes. So that I removed because, that will create other issues, lot of things, lot of thinking. So I just removed that part.
Okay, and then so I wasn't expecting for the proportions not to work in Minitab.
No, proportion works in Minitab, but if you see only sample size part.
Right, that's what I mean, the sample size proportions. I wasn't expecting for those not to work.
No, that works, but you can see, for example, I think I just take a one question, which is like here. So here we go, sample size for, and let's see what is the binomial thing. This is the an estimate sample size, and it says conservative. Conservative is 50%, which is
Right.
this. What is the margin of error is correct? 4%, I believe, if that is the question.
I don't know which question you're referring to. Sorry. I want to keep up with you. Which one are you talking about?
Yeah, the question is about third. Just a minute. I have to see. Just a minute. The conservative sample size required for a 95% confidence interval for pi with an error of plus minus 4%. And this is, I think, a question. So, so conservatively, it takes, we always consider pi always 50% conservatively.
Right.
And you can refer the error is 4%, which we have just
Mm-hmm.
written here. Conservatively, the confidence level is also 95%. And here, for example, this is coming here 623 sample size.
Right.
Right. Now, what if I calculate the same using our, let me go with this whiteboard.
Yeah, I got that answer and it didn't accept it on there.
Yeah, and so therefore,
You crunch it manually, and I have it. I wrote it out.
601.
Well, yeah, and I did the 1.96 squared times 0.25 over 0.04 squared, and I got 601.
Yes. So
So
yeah, there's this difference between the Minitab and whenever I do, for example, I do a couple of other questions, and there I find Minitab has slightly upper side. For example, in some cases I'm getting 78. Minitab is giving like little bit higher or little bit lower, and
okay.
so that is, I'm just surprised. Maybe there is a something algorithm issue in the Minitab that they have used.
Yeah, that's really off. I mean, 601 and 623 is significant. I think. I mean, not
Yeah.
statistically, but and so just to be clear, I thought you were saying you were going to make it so the quiz would accept either 601 or 623. Is that true?
Actually, if I will make, that will, so I think I put the instruction, use the small formula like this or this, and just do the calculation. And I think I placed under each of module instruction under quiz.
Yeah, it says some problems may require Minitab on this homework.
Yeah, and you can please, can you see my screen?
Please use manual calculation for sample size. That must be determination.
Determination,
Okay.
yeah, spelling is wrong.
As Minitab answers are differing from manual. Okay. So for all sample size determinate. Okay. Okay, I did not see that part. That's stinks. Okay, can you go over one other thing, which is the idea of the, I got to find it on here. It's about polling, conventional polling, or yeah. Can you talk about the conventional polling definition?
Conventional polling, you can see, for example, here, right here, I think you can see my screen.
I still can't.
Oh,
It's just white.
okay, just a minute.
There's your little mouse, maybe.
Yeah, so for example, so this is conservative or conventional method is this.
Oh, okay. That's 0.5. Okay. I remember that rule. Okay. Use the conventional polling definition. Okay. Okay.
So mostly, concept are, right there, everything. Only, if suppose pi lambda is given, then how you can convert into pi, or, if pi is given, how you are going to convert into mean and standard deviation. So lambda, square root of lambda becomes standard deviation. So
Okay.
we have to keep these concepts, in mind, previous concepts when we are doing the calculation. Otherwise, this is very simple thing.
Okay. let's see, number 10. Do you think, sorry, if you need to go, that's okay. I did have one more question about question number 10, but I understand if you want to meet tomorrow or whenever.
Just go ahead, just.
Okay, so it's off the quiz. So it's 545 viewers, and the season premiere is between 0.16 and 0.24.
Yeah.
What level of confidence to the nearest percent?
Okay. So,
And so I did this also in Minitab, and I was able to, well, the answer I got was 545 when I think I used 97% confidence interval,
mhm.
but it wasn't right. And so I was hoping,
Okay, just think about it. I'm just giving a concept here.
okay,
The range is 0.16, and sorry, this is confidence interval they are giving. And can you see my whiteboard?
yeah,
So this is the range. Assume what should be the point in between that if you subtract with and plus and minus. So I say 0.20. This is mean plus minus 0.4, 0.04.
got it.
Okay, so you got this value.
That's half between 16 and 24.
So this is the proportion.
Mu.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No. So estimate this is a proportion.
Oh, X bar.
Look, read the question, and can you see my this? Just a minute. Oh, sorry. Now I'm just going to show you my Minitab. So look into this. I am going to go under stat. Can you see this?
Yep.
One proportion. And now I have summarized data.
Right.
And I have to put, what is the 20% of 545?
I'll hold on one second. So 0.2 times 545 equals I can't be right.
0.20 into 545, which is 109. Can you see this?
109, sorry, and then
Yeah.
545. My calculator.
Can you see this?
Yeah.
And now, actually, based on this, let's see, this is 95%. What we are getting the difference here, we are getting 0.16, 0.723, and 20, which is not our answer.
Okay.
So I'm going to do again one proportion. I'm going to do again, and here I'm just going to put
94, 98.
Can you see this?
Yep. So that's 0.16 to 0.24. So you would use a 98% confidence interval.
Yes. And it is clearly given what confidence interval you are going to construct. So, I mean, this is trial and error so that you can have, proper understanding.
So summarized data, and it's 109 events, and it's 545 trials, right?
Yeah, because
and then you would just guess and check. Okay.
20% proportion of 547, and you can understand this Minitab takes data in what format. So we have to enter exactly number of trials 545, number of events 109, and I'm just going to do 95, 96, 97, let's say, which is
okay.
So 97, 98, so basically this is the way we do it.
Okay.
Basically the problems are same. It has been framed, reframed in different ways so that thinking part can come ahead of the Minitab.
Well, that actually helps quite a bit. Thank you. And I'm glad to hear that we're supposed to just manually crunch those, because that's what I had to do. Okay.
Thank you. Bye. Cool. Good night.
Thank you, Rajiv. Have a nice evening.
You too. Bye-bye. Any other questions? Uh, just a minute. Thank you. Bye bye. Good night.
Good night.
Bye.